All righty. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world you may be. Thank you for joining us for Youth Advocacy Training, Session 1. We're going to get started in just a minute here. Thank you for your patience as we are getting ready. I'm going to enable the chat so you can go ahead and introduce yourselves. Let us know where you're from, where you're joining us from, where you live, and what is your favorite body of water? Let's use that as our little icebreaker question today. Like I said, we'll get started in just a minute. Go ahead, introduce yourselves in the chat. I'm just going to run through our agenda really quickly. So first things first, I'm going to welcome everybody. For those of you who do not know who I am, my name is Laura Johnson. I am the Youth Programs Manager for the Ocean Project and World Ocean Day, and I have been running youth advocacy training since 2022, and I love it, and I'm really excited to be here today. We have a great speaker, we have a great panel, or rather issue overview of deep sea mining, and then we will have time for a Q&A at the end as well. So this advocacy training is a little bit different than our normal training. This is our first time ever trying a miniature version of advocacy training. So our typical program is 4 weeks long, and it focuses on really honing our advocacy skills as young people trying to make positive conservation action in our communities and around the world. So our 4 sessions are focused on the ocean climate connection, event planning and fundraising, social media and communications, and campaign organizing. If you are interested in joining us for one of the longer 4-week programs, our next one, we do not have the dates set 100% for it yet, but that will be sometime in the fall. And if you are joining us today, if you're registered for this program, you will be updated on when the next full program is. But this miniature version is really exciting because we are focusing in on the 2 specific issues that are very connected to each other: deep sea mining and the High Seas Treaty. So this session is about deep sea mining. Next Saturday is about the High Seas Treaty. If this session goes well, if you guys feel like you've gained a lot from this program, let us know. We will have a program follow-up survey. And if there are any specific actions or issues that you think could work really well for a shortened version of advocacy training, definitely let us know. We definitely want to see what you guys are interested in learning about. So finally, here we are with our wonderful speaker, Daniel from Sustainable Ocean Alliance. This is his biography. I'm not going to read the whole thing. All you need to know about Daniel is that he is a change maker. He is very, very, very dedicated and passionate about ocean protection, climate protection, and he's super involved in Peru, putting together one of the largest ocean youth collectives in the country. He has been represented at multiple different international conferences, and is really, really knowledgeable on the issue of both the High Seas Treaty and deep sea mining. So Daniel, again, thank you so much for joining us today. We are really, really excited to have you. Now, before we get started, I do have a poll. So let me see if I can get that poll up. Where'd it go? I don't know why. There we go. So I am launching a poll. Let us know what you feel like your background knowledge is on deep sea mining. Let us know if you feel like you know a lot about it, or you're kind of really don't know what it is at all. If you feel like you're an expert or somewhere in between, just go ahead and fill out that poll for a second. And I'm looking in our chat as well. Hello from Florida, New Zealand. We have Georgia and Maine. That's awesome. Canada. Beautiful. Thank you guys for joining us. We're so excited to have you. And it also looks like you guys generally know a decent amount about deep sea mining. There's a few of you who, might be unfamiliar to this subject, might be new for you, but that's why we're here. We're excited to learn. So Daniel, I will send it off to you and just give us our general overview of what is deep sea mining. What are the primary resources that deep sea mining is going after? What are those resources used for? And then, why do we want those resources in the first place? What are the impacts? And then I think the one question that is really important to answer is deep sea mining actually happening right now? So Daniel, I will pass it off to you.
Thank you very, very much, and very happy to be here. I don't know if you can hear me well or see me well.
You're all good.
I'm right now in a layover in Colombia, in Bogota, heading to the International Seabed Authority, where on Monday we will start the council meeting negotiations for deep sea mining. We're going to be spending 2 weeks at the council meeting negotiations and then 1 week at the assembly, where I will talk about specifically about the 2 main issues that are going to be discussed there at the assembly, and why it's so important that everyone here present is very attentive to what's going to be going on in the next 3 weeks. So first of all, deep sea mining. Has any of you ever heard about deep sea mining before? If you guys are here, you probably have all heard about deep sea mining. I would like maybe to know if one person could tell me what they think it's deep sea mining before I start. Anyone?
I don't know if we have attendees enabled to come off of mute, but they can share in
or
the
they
chat.
can write it down if they want to. And if not, well, then I will go ahead to the next question, which is, do you guys know what the deep sea is? I'm gonna send a link to everyone in the chat, and I would like for you all to see how many of your ocean in your country is actually deep sea mining. Jace, you said it is anything below 200 meters. Correct. So right now in the chat, I sent a link, so you all are going to be able to see how much of your ocean is actually considered deep sea. In Peru, it's pretty crazy because more than 89% of the ocean in my country is deep sea. And some of you have countries where more than 90% of your ocean is actually considered deep sea. So if you go in that link and see how much of your ocean is deep sea, you're going to be able to see that directly. So the deep sea is anything below 200 meters. And how many of you have actually ever, let's say, swim under 5 meters or went diving to over 40 meters? Has any of you ever gone diving over 40 meters? I'm pretty sure very little of people here in the group have gone diving to 40 meters. So imagine how many of us have gone to 200 meters. How many of the human population has actually gone down to 200 meters? And that is why actually the deep sea ecosystems, I mean, all the living ecosystems that are under 200 meters are the least known ecosystems in most of the countries and are actually the least known ecosystems in the world currently. So I know if maybe we can go next in the slide, or if I control the slide. Yes, okay, I think that's a great slide to go in, which is right now, well, actually, since the deep challenger, more than 100 years ago, went to explore the seas around the world, they found that there were minerals in the ocean. And now with the growing demand of minerals for, let's say, for electro vehicles, for clean energy that they're saying, and for even iPhones and everything, there's a growing demand of minerals in the world. Actually, the demand for most of the minerals can be up to 200 or 300%, like coal, for example. So one of the questions that many companies are asking is, where the minerals going to come from? So the first thing that many people came about in the 80s was the deep sea. And actually, the deep sea does have a lot of has a lot of the minerals, more minerals than most of the terrestrial ecosystem, actually. But so people really thought, well, the deep sea is going to be the new frontier to get minerals from. But actually, I don't know if we can go back the slide previous to that one So they have found out that there are three types of minerals. We have the polymetallic nodules, which are these little balls that are resting in the bottom of the sea. We have the cobalt crust, which are actually the mountain ranges that some of the ocean in front of your countries have. And we even have the hydrothermal vents, which also have many sources of minerals. We have active and inactive hydrothermal vents. And when people talk about mining the deep sea, they're talking about the inactive thermal vents, currently. So, and right now, for example, I don't know if you can see that little circle where it says Clarion-Clipperton Zone. Can you all see Clarion-Clipperton Zone? That's an area of polymetallic nodules, just little balls that are resting at the bottom of the ocean. That is an area of around bigger than the size of the US in range. So we're talking about areas that are massive in there. So first, when people were talking about deep sea mining, eventually they was like, wow, we're going to be able to look about this. Just going to go to the bottom of the sea and go pick up these minerals that are at the bottom. But now we know that there are ecosystems that live, and ecosystems that maintain the balance and health of the ocean for all of us. So back then they used to say, when they were creating the law of the sea, they were creating the International Seabed Authority, that let's use the deep sea to provide benefits to mankind. But now we know that the deep sea has already been benefiting mankind for millions of years and will continue to do so if we just let the ocean be. So that's the reason why we're at the negotiating table and why we're talking about a moratorium or a precautionary approach. So the deep sea ecosystem, it's an ecosystem that, first of all, the minerals are found under mostly 2,000 meters. 200, they're mostly 2,000 meters. Some ecosystems are 3,000 meters and some are 4,000 meters. That's where most of the minerals are found. So at that depth, every 10 meters deep in the ocean, we talked about, for example, that 200 meters was deep sea, and now people are answering about how many of your countries' economic zone, exclusive zone, is deep sea. Well, each 10 meters of water, we have around 1 kilogram or 1 atmosphere of pressure on top of us. Right now, from here to the atmosphere, we have around 1 atmosphere. But every 10 meters of ocean, when we go down, we have 1 atmosphere extra. So around 1 kilogram extra of water weight on top of us. So at 200 meters, we're talking about 20 atmospheres, equivalent, 21 actually atmospheres of equivalent, because we had the atmosphere. But then imagine how much pressure there is at 2,000 meters or 3,000 meters. So we're talking about ecosystems with a lot of pressure. And not only that, we're talking about ecosystems that are very cold. As most of you know, water is very inefficient. I mean, it's very hard to transfer heat in water. So that's why it takes so much energy to change 1 centigrade of heat in the water, because it transfers heat so in such efficient, and it takes so much energy to be able to transfer the heat and change the energy in there. That's why most of the deep sea ecosystems have a temperature of under 4 degrees Celsius. So that's very cold waters. Even some parts of the deep sea are 1 centigrade, some are 2 centigrades, and some are even close to 0 centigrades of cold water. So with that cold fluid surrounding life at the bottom of the sea, we know that the time, the growth, and every movement can go down because of the cold weather. It slows down all the movements and all the metabolic rate all the way down to the molecular level. So that's why reproduction at the deep sea is so slow. That's why movement can be slow. And that's why lifespans can be so long also. The longest living multicellular organisms that have been found are the deep sea. Can any of you guess, for example, what's like some average lifespans that we can find in the deep sea for some animals? We know, for example, in terrestrial ecosystems, we have some turtles that can live 100 years. Okay, Quentin says 200 years. Does anyone give less or more? 150 years. And what about any other guesses of around how long life can be there? Correct, Laura. It can be more than 10,000 years. There are sponges that can live up to 12,000 years or even more that have been found there. And the reason for this is because first it's so cold in the water, plus it's also the ecosystems are so stable, have been so stable, and that's what we know of. And the reason we can know that it's stable is because when we go down and we see the small grains and particles, like, when you go to the beach, you can see the little particles and the size of these particles. You can take it out and see it around the size of the particles. Some are a little bit bigger, some can be like rocks and be much bigger, and some beaches can have smaller sand particles. The size of the particle tells you how much energy of movement is in that area. So how much energy there's in movement in that area. So we know, like, in usually where the polymetallic nodules are found, usually the size of the grain is actually around the size of silt particles. So very, 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 very small. And what does it tell us? If there's very, very small grain particles, it means there's been very little energy of movement in that area. And why is that? It's because if there is a little bit of energy moving around, all that small particles will rise up and move over to a different place. That's why when you see a beach of rock particles, for example, let's say of rocks around the size of my thumb, you will know there's movement of water that is very strong. To be able to move that kind of rock, you need a lot of energy. If you go to a beach with really big rocks, there's been water that has been moving big rocks very well, moving very big rocks. So when you go and see that there's really small particles, you know that there has been not much movement in that area, And why is this so important? Because um, also the deep sea serves a purpose of a service provider, specifically in carbon sequestration. And why is that so important? Is because, as most of you all may already know, the ocean absorbs more than 90% of the heat of the excess heat CO2 from climate change, for the excess heat of climate change created, and also it sequesters the excess carbon. So all this carbon that we're having, we need mitigators, we need allies, we need to put all this carbon that we're pumping into the atmosphere from all these fossil fuels, we need to sequester it down and leave it down at the bottom. So it's doing that already, the ocean. So phytoplankton at the top of the ocean comes and sequesters all this carbon by phytoplankton, and then when it dies, it sinks it down all the way to the bottom. So there's thousands and thousands of years of carbon that's been sequestered and kept at the bottom of the ocean. So what would happen if we take a machine, for example, and leave it at the bottom and start dragging along a machine that will pick up these polymetallic nodules in a very silty and carbon sediment? It will create eventually the sediment plumes that will rise all this carbon that has stayed at the bottom. And always also, when the polymetallic nodules get cleaning the surface, it will also pump the carbon back into the surface and might eventually turn parts of the ocean from sequestering carbon services to eventually converting the ocean to emitting. So that's why when we talk about deep sea mining right now, currently at the International Seabed Authority, where I'm heading tomorrow, I'll be arriving. The things that are being talked about is actually the regulations. So right now, the International Seabed Authority, it's wanting to start deep sea mining as soon as possible. Why is that? It's because when the first regulations of how the creation process for mining was going to occur at the ISA, they were looking for ways to just look for a just way to distribute the minerals, and there were no environmental manners that were being looked up upon. There's an article, it's called Article 145, that talks about the protection of the deep sea environment, and we're using that article to pursue a moratorium, but it was mostly in a way that will create a path to eventually mine the ocean. So currently, there are exploration contracts. There are more than 30 exploration contracts. So companies and countries have been looking at the deep sea to find where the minerals are. But currently, we do not have any exploitation contracts. So deep sea mining is an activity that's still not occurring today. So it's the first human commercial activity that we will able to either plan or prevent before it starts. And as Sustainable Ocean Alliance, we're the first observant organization that's been accredited by the International Seabed Authority to be inside the room with the negotiators. We're looking for a moratorium and a precautionary pause. And why are we looking for this? First of all, what we're trying to do is at this assembly from the 29th of July to the 2nd of August, the assembly is going to be occurring. The assembly is a political body of the International Seabed Authority. There's going to be a proposal for a general policy, a proposal that will say two things. First of all, that we should not allow mining to occur until regulations are finished, because regulations are still not finished. And second of all, we should not finish regulations until we have enough science. Thanks to Diva Among and other great scientists that we have from around the world, we know that the baseline studies in more than 95% of the exploration contracts, where they're just looking to see for the mining activities, more than 90% of the baselines are still not covered yet. We have still not know enough baseline study, and baseline means information about the microorganism, information about the taxonic groups, identification of species, the nutrient cycle of species, the conditions, the temperature, the chemical processes in the area, how many species are nodule independent, how many species have long lifespans, how many don't have long lifespans, how many depend on maybe on the connectivity of these ecosystems to other ecosystems, how much the impact will have directly on the area, on the sediment plume, how the acoustic pollution would occur and would affect different taxonomic groups, or even how mine activity would affect adjacent areas where mining doesn't occur. So there's a big lack of baseline studies, and what the science tells us is we need at least 15 to 20 years to even understand the baseline studies and the science of most of these ecosystems over there. So that's the proposal of the general policy. But we also want to go farther, and we want to push for an eventual reformation of the International Seabed Authority. We don't understand what we as young people have received forms of manners to do stuff. We have received ways of how the world is seen. We have world views that we have inherited, that we have not built. So most of the adults and the way things are, the way people see the world from past generations, have been focused exclusively on extractivism as a way of guaranteeing quality of life. But we think that we as youth, we have an opportunity to build new ways of seeing the world, new world views that maintain the coexistence with ecosystems and respects the ecosystems that have not been affected by our human presence yet. We are the first generation as young people to finally understand ecological concepts. Generations before us not only not understood the ecological concepts, but had a worldview where they would think that the world was administered by a divine being, for example. They used to think that we as a species were the owners and administrators of resources. We finally understand that we are one more species that coexists and depends on other organisms to survive and depends on natural services to survive on this. That's why it's so important that that our voices can be heard at the assembly, and that's why we need all of you also. So far, there are 27 countries that have joined the process on this. There are 27 countries in my region. For example, we have countries like Ecuador and Panama and Mexico joining for a precautionary pause. We were able, with Sustainable Ocean Alliance and Mission Blue and Beta Diversidad, change the position of Mexico from wanting to finish the regulations to wanting a moratorium now. And also, we were even able to get Peru, a country that is not part of UNCLOS, to actually be the first country to say, to call for a moratorium, even though it is not part of UNCLOS. So look over there, visit the link, and see if your country has already said yes or no to the moratorium. This is very important.
We have some yes, some no. Mostly no. Oh, can't use the link. You might have to copy and paste it into your browser. Let me see if I can find that. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Hold on. But Daniel, this is really wonderful so far, and I really appreciate the depth of the science that we're going into here. I do want to kind of, oh, thank you, Carl got it before I was able to grab the link. I appreciate it. So yeah, go ahead, use that link, answer the poll. But I do want to move more into the tangible action steps side of things. So where are we in the process? That's what we're answering right now. What other things can we do aside from, you know, well, here is the what's happening this month. This is about the negotiations, but what else can we do on local and national levels outside of, you know, getting our country to propose a ban or like promise to not do deep sea mining? How can we kind of take those action steps and support that movement in our own local communities?
That is a very great question, and there's many different strategies of how to approach that. First of all, we need all the countries at the assembly from the 29th to the 2nd of August. Who is going to be sending the delegation? Who's going to be sending the delegation of your countries is going to be the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, usually the area of Maritime Affairs. So I would recommend all of you to go look into the website of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and identify who is in charge of wanting of sending the delegation, who's in charge of the Maritime Affairs. So find that contact, and I recommend you send them an email. Ask them, are you going to be going to be at the assembly this year, or are you not going to be at the assembly this year? There are many countries that have, the only countries that can be and have a vote at the assembly are countries that have ratified UNCLOS. So for example, countries like mine, Peru, cannot have a vote at the ISA, but it can have a voice. It can still be an observer. So if your country has not ratified UNCLOS, which most of your countries have, it's just Peru, Colombia, and the United States, and some countries in Africa and Europe that have not ratified it, they can still go and send a voice. Actually, with Peru, what we did is we talked to our Ministry of Foreign Affairs. We had a couple of meetings, and for the first time, Peru is going to be going with us this year at this assembly after they announced that they will join the call for a moratorium, even though that they don't have a voice. So first, we need them to make sure that we have quorum in the assembly, and because to propose a general policy, we need to have quorum. So we need more than 70 countries there on the ground so we can have a quorum so the general policy can be adopted on the protection of the marine environment. Second of all, we need, if your country has not taken a stance already, how do we get your country to create a stance? I think that for this is key to get the Ministry of Environment and get other organizations. With Mexico, we did a campaign with SOA Mexico where we got over 145,000 signatures with different organizations. There was an activism campaign, and also there was an internal campaign. We were able to get many organizations that were allies with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs And we were able to create pressure to change the position of Mexico. And with Peru, we just did it by sending many letters and having a couple meetings with them. My country, for example, was not even aware that there was an International Seabed Authority that they could be going. So it was very interesting to let them know about this body and now getting them involved. So most of the countries, it's pretty crazy because most of the foreign affairs ministry, when you talk to them, actually are not going to be very well informed or have not even heard the position of a moratorium over mining. So it's very good that all of you should send letters or let them know or show them that there are already 27 countries, that there are companies like Microsoft, Samsung, Ford, and Tesla that have called for a moratorium. There's even, if you look in Google, there are even more than 250 parliaments that have called for a moratorium and more than 600 scientists that have sent letters. And you can find that letter and also attach it to your letter to show that there are scientists also calling on to this. The assembly is from the 29th of July to the 2nd of August. And you can see it live, and I will invite all of you to see it live. And actually, let me see if I can find the WhatsApp. We have a WhatsApp group. Let me see. So we can all be attentive to this. Here it is. I'm going to share a link of our WhatsApp group where you can all see how I find this. Okay, here it is. We have a WhatsApp group where during the assembly, we will be sending updates of everything that's happening. You guys are more than welcome to join on that. So we'll be on the ground updates during the assembly. And you all can also see, specifically, we can send the link of the negotiations so you can follow it live. It's like, I know many of you enjoy watching football and soccer. And many of you enjoy watching negotiations happening live. And also at this assembly meeting, there's also another point, which is there's going to be the election process for a new Secretary General. And why is that so important? So actually that is item 19 of the agenda for the assembly. It's going to be on the election of the new Secretary General. So Michael Lodge, the current Secretary General, is trying to run for a third term. Michael Lodge has been seen being really good friends with TMC, which is a metals company, and advocating for mining to start, advocating for mining to continue. So he's looking to run for a third term. So right now, it's actually terms usually are 2 terms for Secretary Generals, and then it changes to region. So currently, right now, it should be Latin America's turn to have a Secretary General. It should either be Latin America's turn to have a Secretary General, or it should either be Eastern Europe. So Michael Lodge should not be running for a third term re-election, but he's doing it anyways. So it's very important that we can also influence, that we make sure that we don't have a third term also of the Secretary General, because it's our turn. It's also important to have a constant change of Secretary General so we can have different views, and also so we can give the voices of our regions in there. He doesn't want Latin America to win because most of Latin America countries have already announced or taken a stance in favor of a moratorium or precautionary laws. But it's our turn now in that way.
Awesome, Daniel. Thank you. I'm just trying to make sure I keep up with dropping the terms in the chat so you're able to see the spelling if you want to go and look up more information about these people. I also know that John Oliver from the Tonight Show on whatever channel it is also did a segment on deep sea mining, and he talked a lot about Michael Lodge. I know that segment went a little bit viral, so that might be a place that some of you guys have seen some of this stuff as well. But this is really, really awesome, and I am super grateful that you sent that WhatsApp text group in the chat. I think that's going to be really, really interesting moving forward. I'm excited to monitor it myself. But I also wanted, Daniel, to ask you specifically about youth involvement, because I know it's really exciting that SOA, which is a youth organization, is, I think you mentioned, the first organization that's been accredited to actually be in the room at negotiations, which I didn't know that before. That's amazing. I'm very happy for you guys. But I want you to share, what is your experience as a young person before you got to this point? How did you, push for these kinds of things outside of SOA? And I want to hear from you, Daniel, specifically, like, what are some ways that, young people who are watching this either live or the recording on YouTube further down the line, how can we all kind of have a personal hand in helping with stopping deep sea mining?
So it's very, very true. We're the first youth-led organization to be accredited in the International Seabed Authority. And it's been pretty cool because we've grown a lot of legitimacy there. We're trying to be the voice of many of you here in the room, and we actually would love to have many of you or some of you involved eventually in the negotiation process also, because at the beginning, it was always very interesting to have many people doubt, like, what do youth bring to the table at the negotiations? I mean, I think we have, like I mentioned, we're the first generation to understand and grasp ecological concepts. We're the first generation to grasp ecological limits or planetary limits. We're the first generation to actually comprehend the concept of pollution, contamination, the concept of nodal dependent of dependent species, even the concept of populations or the concept of extinction. So we have a lot to bring to the table. Also, you're going to see that most of the observers and they're going at the ISA, it's taken them very long to be able to be at the table. So they've had to gain a lot of experience, have to been very comfortable groups at the International Seabed Authority. We're a group of people that still see the world in a very idealized ways, utopic ways. So we understand that the world can change, while most of the people from older generations think that the world should respect the way things have been in the past. And we should just build on the way things have been in the past. We should adapt to those ways. And they don't believe things can change radically, or actually they don't think extractivism should be banned in some way. Some people say, oh, well, yeah, maybe we don't need deep sea mining now, but we'll eventually need it in the future. Well, we know now, thanks to a couple of articles, WWF did an article, that we do not even need this clean energy, this minerals for clean energy transition. It's completely false that we need these minerals, that we should actually be focusing on mining all the trash that's already in landfills, where all minerals have been thrown in the trash, these rare minerals, and also that we should promote a circular economy, that we can guarantee reuse of the economy, and that we should also question our population growth eventually by empowering women with reproductive rights and giving equality to women and giving access to education, because when we know when women have access to education, population growth in countries get reduced. And with that, the limits and the expectations of demand for minerals are going to be much lower. Also, we know that technology is innovating. So actually minerals that are cobalt dependent are going to be changing to more terrestrial dependent, to lithium dependent ones. So we've had a voice, first of all, using the science to lead the activism, using the scientists as mentors, using people, all the older generation as mentors, and listening to them, but also putting our voice and also serving as connectors. I think one of our roles as youth is also to open the space for every other youth. Either I think we're doing, some organizations work themselves and close themselves, and it's like, okay, this is my topic. I don't want anyone else to talk about it. I want to be the only one with this flag. No, we as youth, as Sustainable Ocean Alliance, as High Seas Alliance, I know, and other youth organizations present, we all want this topic to be democratized. We want all the youth to be talking about this. We want this agenda to be in every topic. So we actually have a lot to bring at the table in this. And okay, my battery's dying, so I'm gonna go charge my phone real quickly. But I think we have at the past the negotiations, I've been at the past 6 ones. It has been very different. There's, I think, a lot to learn from them. Right now, next week, the first negotiations that are going to start are going to be the council meeting, where we're actually going to run regulation by regulation by regulation by regulation by regulation, where we're going to hear stuff from financial matters to environmental matters to safety on the sea directly. So there's a lot that we're learning. And I think we have a very exciting future because we're actually going to be, as youth, if we're getting on this topic right now, we're going to be the most well trained, the most well trained generation on deep sea issues in the future. So awesome. The question.
Yeah, Daniel, I this is so inspiring, and I'm loving this because we really are like the first generation to understand all of these problems, but also the last generation to really be able to keep things from going off the deep end, so to speak. And I'm really interested in kind of expanding on what you were talking about with you know, the developing of new technologies and different, you know, intersectional issues. You talked about women's reproduction and lowering our population growth, and that is a hugely important aspect of this as well. But I also want to emphasize transition and pushing your local and national governments to more public transportation rather than car dependent societies. That's another huge one because, you know, all of these polymetallic nodules and stuff, they're thinking they want to use that for batteries, for electric vehicles and other similar types of manufacturing. And if we are only dependent on electric vehicles, we still need all of those materials in order to create them. But if we transition our transportation systems on national levels to something that is more holistic and public transportation, and we improve our infrastructure in that way, we won't even have to rely on electric vehicles as much. So I also just wanted to put that little point in there. But I also see we have so many awesome little blurbs here in the chat. From France, we're talking about trying to push our governments for as many different things as we can, both terrestrial and offshore. Currently working on a paper. Oh, awesome. Looks like we've got some outreach and education stuff. Yeah, stop eating meat for sure. Organizations that we can join, definitely Sustainable Ocean Alliance and the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition, who helped us create this webinar today. Jace also mentioned the Biodiversity Task Force with the Deep Ocean Stewardship Initiative. And it looks like, oh, I love this discussion that's happening in the chat, you guys. This is awesome. Now we kind of covered our youth action. So we do have some questions that I've seen in the chat, but we also have a really excellent question in the Q&A. So Daniel, I'll let you kind of finish up your lesson if you have anything else that you want to add that you didn't touch on, and then we can shift to the Q&A, if that's cool.
I love, Laura, that you mentioned that this might be the last generation to actually see that and the issues, and that is completely right. We're in a process of a biodiversity crisis that's very, very harsh, and we need to rewild the ocean, not adding to the biodiversity crisis. So I think I would leave it with that, so we can just go ahead and have with the Q&A because of the time. And I see now in the chat there's so many interesting initiatives. Feel free, please, to reach out to either email or through Laura, so we can maybe see about creating some posts, some blog posts with Sustainable Ocean Alliance. We can have some blog posts if you guys want to write something. I don't know, maybe Laura, we can see about collab posts on Instagram with some of these initiatives. I mean, what we need a lot right now, it's communications. We need a lot of viralization of the subject. We need all of you to also, I mean, I'm a marine biologist, and usually when I was studying marine biology, they would tell me, your role is just to produce science, nothing else. I mean, I think that's past generation stuff. I mean, having a passive role in society has led the people who don't understand science really take us to these environmental problems that we have. So I think we really need an active role. We need to be communicators more than ever. We need to be in politics. We need to be changing policy, like Laura mentioned. We need to be changing the the concept from individual cars to public transport. That is essential. um so yeah, there's so many things that we need to do, that we need to involve all of it. So please feel free to also reach out with Laura through me, or through, I will send also the email to Sabrina, our communication director, so we can empower your voices, also visibilize this, tag us if you guys make reels, if you make posts, so we can do that. And we'll also leave my Instagram in there. So yeah, we can go to the Q&A.
Awesome, Daniel, thank you so much. And I really appreciate that. Definitely let us know. I will share both of our email addresses at the end. I just want to leave with this one quote. I've read this, I've seen this quote before, but I came across it this morning and I was like, oh, this just seems perfect to read right now. So it's a quote by Mary Anais Helgar, and it says, "The thing about climate is that you can either be overwhelmed by the complexity of the problem or fall in love with the creativity of the solution." So I wanted to say that before we head into the Q&A, because I think that's just like a lovely little putting a
I
bow
love it.
on this discussion. Yeah. So we do have two questions in the Q&A here. I do want to answer Alexis's question first. And Alexis said, several of these zones, I think this is referring to that map at the beginning, several of these zones highlighting the mineral-rich zones are outside of the exclusive economic zones nearest to them. So how does this actually impact the ability of countries to monopolize on those minerals? Are there any conversations about expanding countries' EEZs from the 200-mile zone they are currently at? That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, very good question, Alexis. And so currently the International Seabed Authority is in charge of regulating the area, which is the deep sea, the bottom of the sea, of everything outside exclusive economic zones. So when I'm talking about the International Seabed Authority, I'm talking about international air waters, about the area outside international exclusive economic zones. And that's why when I Laura, I'm sorry that I went ahead and sent out my email when you were just while you were speaking. But inside exclusive economic zones, that's also where the issue starts. In Peru, we wrote a bill, the first bill in Latin America, so Peru can also protect its inside its national waters. We proposed a bill to ban deep sea mining inside the national waters, because the International Seabed Authority has no sovereignty over national waters or exclusive economic zones, only has sovereignty outside these areas. So when we're talking about this deep sea mining moratorium ban, we're talking about outside the exclusive economic zones. And that's again why we need, and I will go ahead back to the call of action, all of you to help us propose and push for moratoriums, not only internationally, the one what we need currently urgently now, but also inside your exclusive economic zones. Because Norway, for example, has approved deep sea mining exploration uh, in its exclusive economic zones. So how are we going to be able to prevent this if we destroy also the exclusive economic areas, which is something more difficult, and it's going to be more of a task of each you individually from the countries.
Awesome. Okay, thank you for answering that one. We have another question that Ella asked about dealing with politicians, but I also just saw that Alexandros asked another question about EEZ. So I will jump over Ella. I promise we'll get back to yours after this, but because we're still on EEZs here, it says, we learned about EEZs in human geography this year, and I always wondered if this zone can be more restricted or shortened due to the unregulated exploitation of the oceans and seas. Now, that's a really interesting question that I think will actually blend very well into session 2 of advocacy training, talking more specifically about the High Seas Treaty. But Daniel, do you have anything that you want to add about this as well?
I think that's a very good question. I think it does connect very well with session 2. I think BBNJ, it's a topic where we talk about, for example, what happens if I pollute in my exclusive economic area and it goes out into international waters, for example, or what happens vice versa. So all these discussions are getting rethought because of this new treaty that we're having, that we hope we get ratified. And that's another campaign. We're going to need ratification of BBNJ and the High Seas Treaty. But also because I like this question, because this is all this scheme, all this regulation is basically based under UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention of Law of the Sea, which was basically written before we even discovered hydrothermal vents. So there's a very, I mean, there's so much we know, so much we've discovered in just the past couple of years, for example. But this law of the sea was written when we grasped very little about the deep sea and very little about the high seas, for example. So I think one of the discussions we need to eventually have as a generation is, can we rewrite the law of the seas? Can we, because right now the UNCLOS, the United Nations Convention of Law of the Seas, like the Bible for everything, should not be touched, should not be changed. But we think maybe we should rewrite it. I mean, we have so much new scientific information, so much new understanding, so much changes of view. It was focused directly on extractivism, so now let's focus it also on conservation and on sustainability and on biodiversity. So yeah, I think this is a topic that we should eventually discuss, reforming the and changing or updating UNCLOS.
Excellent. Yeah, I just sent a link to read more about UNCLOS in the chat. So if you have any more questions about that, it is a really interesting document. I think the history of it is fascinating, and it's very complicated and difficult to cover exactly what it means in 1 hour session, when it's just sort of something that we're referencing and the entire session isn't actually about the treaty itself. But definitely recommend reading up on it, because it is very, very relevant to everything that we've been talking about and that we will talk about next week as well. Now, I do want to answer Ella's question. How would you recommend dealing with very hostile and uncooperative politicians? And that is a very difficult question to answer, I think, and it kind of depends on where you are. I know, at least in the United States, there's a lot of different ways to go about doing that, and sometimes that is applicable to countries elsewhere. So Daniel, do you have like a good Peruvian perspective on that? How does it like in South America?
Okay, so it is a very good question. I was at the BBNJ negotiations, right? The ones that were the last ones where we were approved. And I hosted a meeting with the Peruvian delegation and the top scientists on high seas biodiversity, including Lisa Levine from there. And the scientists gave us such a well explanation of why it was important for Peru to sign BBNJ. And at the end of the presentation, the delegate for Peru, my country, who was a Marine, he said, this treaty, it's all about sovereignty, and we're not going to sign anything about sovereignty because it wants to mess with our sovereignty. So even though we talked about it being a treaty of biodiversity, they think it was sovereignty. And it was such an, like, and so many times we're going to find delegates, we're going to find politicians that are very arrogant. So just keep always this in mind. There's always someone else you can talk to, either in that area, either in another area, either superior to that person, either inferior to that person. So if in that area, if the delegate or if the minister or if the advisor to the minister is very arrogant, go look for someone else in that area. But you need to keep on pushing in that area. There's always someone else that will be kinder and nicer. And there's a way we've always approached things, like always, okay, well, let's go talk to someone else. So we're not talking to that person again. And usually remember that politicians usually change. So in 1 year, 2 years, this person will change. And that's also why all of you, all of us need to be going into politics, because we're also a generation that understands that affection, kindness are essential to treating biodiversity and talking about environmental matters. And also kindness and affection are essential to being good politicians.
Very much so. And somebody else had asked in the Q&A, and then I also just sent it in the chat here, if there's, a resource of emails. Yes, we actually do have a document that has many, not all, but most countries, a list of their national ministers of environment bureaus and maritime affairs and foreign affairs. So definitely check out this resource. It's huge. So just scroll to find your country and it should help. That's a good place to start. I would probably bookmark that document as well, so you can save this for future reference for other action items as well. But let's see here. I would like to, well, let's see. We have like 3 minutes left. So I'm just trying to read these questions here. If there was like one thing, well, first of all, let me just say, if you guys have any additional questions, like Daniel said, I don't think we're going to have time to answer all of the questions in the Q&A right now, just because we do only have a few minutes left. But if you do have any additional questions, feel free to email myself and or Daniel about these things. But Daniel, I guess the one last question I have for you before we wrap up, what is the easiest thing that we can do today? Like when we're done with this webinar and you get on your flight, when you're done with your layover, what can we do to help push for a moratorium? What is like one tangible action? Do you have a link to a petition that we can sign? Do you have, other suggestions like that, or something along those lines that is just one small step towards taking tangible action?
I'm pretty sure all of you have other organizations that you guys are aware about. Maybe write them and share, like ask them a question. Hey, have you heard about this topic? Would you be interested in collaborating or helping? Or even that can be one option. Another option is to make a story, talk about deep sea mining. But what we need people to understand is the general policy. We need everyone to understand what the general policy is about in this assembly. If the general policy does not get approved, it's going to be very difficult for us to go look and protecting the marine environment in the next couple of years. So we really need this general policy to happen. So it can be either you have an organization that's contact. If you really want to like dedicate a lot of time to it, write them and be like, hey, would you like to collaborate with this? Let's bring this subject on with our organizations. If you're just an individual, doesn't have an organization or doesn't know of other organizations, put a story, let someone know about it. Let people know and be aware that this general policy is coming up or this assembly is coming up. Join the WhatsApp group or share the WhatsApp group to other people so they can be aware about what's going on during the assembly if they're interested about that. And overall, if you have any politician contacts, if you have the WhatsApp of a politician, if you have a contact, a friend or a family member that's into the government, in the government, tell them about this and be like, hey, do you know if we're sending anyone as a country to this meeting? Do you know if we have a delegation? And if you have a little bit more time, then send out an email, right? Look for who your director of maritime issues is for foreign affairs, and you send them a quick email asking for information about this. And feel free to write me or Laura on email or Instagram. And if you need bibliography, you can send me an email, and I'll be more than happy to share with you. And yeah, I'm very, very happy to meet all of you and to keeping you all updated as the negotiations happen.
Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you to everybody who watched today as well. Again, super exciting to finally be putting out this miniature version of advocacy training. It is very exciting to me, both personally and professionally. I love doing this program, and I love the feedback that we get from our audience members as well. So I really hope that you all enjoyed our session today. Again, just to reiterate one more time, if you do have any additional questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to either one of us to talk about deep sea mining, to talk about youth, ocean, and climate advocacy. We are happy to share our resources with you. I just sent the links to the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition, and World Ocean Day in the chat. So definitely check out all three of those organizations. We are all working very, very hard to protect our shared blue planet, and any extra hands as far as support is concerned is greatly, greatly appreciated. So I hope to see you all on session 2, same time next week on the 20th of July. And then the last announcement as well is, if you have not yet already submitted your application, please, please, please feel free to share the application as well to join the World Ocean Day Youth Advisory Council. That is a group of 25 youth leaders from all around the world who help us decide what we're going to do with World Ocean Day, and help us mold it into a really awesome opportunity for global collaborative action. So once again, thank you so much to Daniel, the Sustainable Ocean Alliance, the Deep Sea Conservation Coalition. Daniel, this was a wonderful conversation. I really, really appreciate you squeezing in this time to meet with us, especially in between flights. I know that must be pretty stressful. So we really, really, really are so grateful. And yeah, if you have anything else to add, go ahead. But thank you, everyone, and we hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Hope to meet you all soon.
Thank you all. Have a safe flight, Daniel.
Thank you, Laura. We'll go ahead. It's in a couple hours still. And actually, I booked this layover so I can have this space right between flights.
Oh, I so appreciate that. Thank you.
My pleasure. And very nice meeting you. Let's stay in touch.
Yes, definitely. You too. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.